If Sonam has helped you, please consider supporting for the benefit of others. Establishing a base engagement is the biggest hurdle for new ideas.
What is the number one reason you desire to improve yourself? I really appreciate your efforts in the first place because it only helps the world become a better place. The one thing I know that is real, / we know that is real, is our consciousness or our conscious state in the present moment. Everything else might be an illusion, but there is some way that it feels like to be me and some way that it feels like to be you right now. I assume there's some way that it's like to be you right now, but there's certainly some way that it's like to be me right now. And I can try and describe that with ambiguous words. I can say, well, there's, in my consciousness right now, there's the sense of the room. There's a sense of freedom and happiness. There's a sense of joy in answering this question, a sense of challenge in trying to figure it out. Those words don't tell you directly how I feel, but they land you somewhere in the area. And that's true. That is somewhat a description of what it is actually like to be me. That's very real. I know that's real. It is the way that it is. And seemingly there's also different ways that it can be like to be me. I can remember unpleasant ways of being me, where my experience would be defined better as something I don't want it to be like to be me. There's tension or stress, anxiety, fear. There's striving and trying. Those are one way it can be like to be me, and then there's all the lovely ways it can be like to be me. Joyful, wonderful, loving, a sense of perfection and freedom. So the possibility here is very obvious to me. How do I want to be in the world? Do I want to be the unnice ways or the pleasant ways? How do I want others to be? How do I want your experience to be? I want it to be the wonderful ways. Because when I relate to the unwonderful ways of being, I don't want anyone to ever have to experience that. I want you to feel wonderful. I want me to feel wonderful. So hypothetically, which world do I want to live in? Do I want to live in a world where all the conscious experiences are not so nice? Or live in a world where all the conscious experiences, the reality to each individual who's being, feels amazing? Yeah, I want that one. And I want to move towards that one as much as I can, because the better the well-being in all those consciousnesses, that's always the better reality to me. And it might be a journey to get there, but that's definitely where I want to be going. Now, it's also obvious to me that the way these different conscious states come about is based on conditions. The times where I don't feel good, there's somewhat very clear reasons and components of my life that have resulted in it feeling that way. Different perceptions, but they're all very structural. They're hard to locate and define, but there's clear reasons why I end up in that state. And I suppose this would be the same for most other people. We could probably work out some sort of map between us to navigate away from we could start with the easy ones, obvious ways that lead to not feeling very good for people. We could all not do those ones, and we could start finding out the obvious ways and navigations to start feeling really good. And so that's really the number one reason why I try to work on myself and improve myself, is because I can see that I'm part of this connected web of other people, and what I do really matters because it really has results in how it makes me feel and it makes others feel. I'm part of my own conditions and the environmental conditions of other people who have reality in their experience. And there's very clear behaviors I may or may not do that will have a very real result in how those people feel. And I'm endlessly motivated to do my best because I know what suffering is like. I've experienced something of those ways of being. And now when I have more spaciousness, when I'm fortunate to have more freedom generally from day to day in my life, it's impossible for me to be cavalier with my time or cavalier in relating to other people, because when one is suffering, it really is not fun. And it's obvious that we want things to be different, and we want our conditions to be different, and we need our conditions to be conducive to us having a really positive frame of well-being. Because suffering isn't suffering if we can accept it. Suffering is a place of absolutely denying our current state of being and wanting everything to change it. And today I feel like I have that freedom to actively be a condition, to work skillfully, effectively, to try and be educated and intellectual, understand as much as I can, to be a positive influence in the conditions of our world that will realize a reality of greater, happier, more loving, abundant conscious states than the other. It's the world I want to live in, and I also believe it's a responsibility. Thank you for your efforts in making the world a better place.